let's continue talking about airline etiquette. So last time we talked about some rules to follow when you're on an airplane that will be nice to the people around you. So we talked about etiquette. Etiquette means the rules of being polite, the way to have good manners. These are the right things to do. So when we talk about eating at a restaurant or being on an airplane or being in an office, we can use the word etiquette to talk about the right way to act. You don't want to do anything that's rude or obnoxious or dirty or something that will make someone uncomfortable, right? We want to think about what other people feel. Of course, you want to be comfortable, but you want other people to be comfortable too, and that's important. So a flight attendant made this list of 12 etiquette rules, and we started this last week. So let's review what we talked about. First, we saw that everyone has the right to recline, but there's a polite way to do it. So you have the right to recline your seat. You can put your seat back to relax, but that doesn't mean you can go boom really fast. You might annoy someone or get food on them or something. You just have to be polite and careful. Take a look, take a peek, we saw. You don't need to be creepy like a thief. Just take a look, okay? Next up, we saw clean up after your kids. So if you have kids or you bring young kids with you, make sure to help and clean the plane. Flight attendants have important jobs keeping people safe and keeping everyone calm. They don't have time to be cleaning after a little kid. So if your kid makes a mess, clean up after your kids. Next, we said the overhead bins aren't your personal Tetris game. Tetris is one of my favorite games all time. I used to play it when I was a kid. I still play it now. It's pretty awesome. But the overhead bins, where you put your carry-on luggage, is not a place for Tetris. Just put your stuff in. Maybe you could slide something left or right, but don't be doing anything complicated. Anything complicated, you can let the flight attendant help you out. Next, no one wants to hear your FaceTime conversation. If you want to call someone or talk to somebody, do it before you get on the plane. Don't have a long conversation saying, "Oh, love you, Grandma. I'll see you next year." Don't do that on the plane. Do that before you get on the plane, just so you don't blah, blah, blah in someone's ear, right? Next up, we said that the middle seat gets both armrests. Now, there's no rule for this, but this is what this flight attendant thinks. And I think I agree. We said the middle seat gets both armrests because it's a consolation prize. They're the loser because they're stuck in the middle. So you give them both armrests just to say, sorry, you're in the middle. This guy on the left gets this armrest. The lady on the right gets that armrest. The guy in the middle doesn't look so happy. Just give him both armrests, okay? And then today we have some new rules to follow, okay? Or advice. Some of them are not just rules, they're advice of like what's okay to do. Okay. Now, this one, headphones are a perfectly acceptable conversation ender. So, headphones, what you wear to listen to music or podcasts, these are a perfectly acceptable conversation ender. Now, these four words go together, so let's start at the end of it. Ender, something that ends something. If we have ER, that makes it a thing, or it can make it a thing. Ender. It's a thing that ends something. What does it end? Well, it's a conversation ender. Headphones can end a conversation, so you can call this thing, it is a conversation ender. Okay? And then the next word describes conversation ender. It's acceptable, meaning it's okay. It's totally fine. Everyone says, oh yeah, of course, that's fine. It's okay. It's acceptable, meaning you can accept that. So if I use my headphones to end this conversation, is that okay? Yes, it's an acceptable conversation ender. And then how acceptable? Is it only a little bit acceptable? No, it's perfectly acceptable. So this word describes acceptable, like 100%. Perfectly describes acceptable. Acceptable describes conversation. Conversation describes ender. Okay? So altogether, it's a perfectly acceptable conversation ender, meaning it's completely okay to use this to stop talking to someone. Okay? Whew. Complicated, right? But this is really common in English and especially common in writing. You can have 4 words all together and it's just one thing, just describing itself. Okay, what does she say about headphones? Overly chatty seatmate. Okay, it'll get easier, don't worry. Seatmate. Well, you know what a classmate is, right? Or a teammate. Classmate, someone in your class. Teammate, someone on your team. Seatmate, someone at your seat. So they're in the seat next to you. That's your seatmate. This word is not very common, but you can figure it out, right? And so they're overly chatty, an overly chatty seatmate. Chatty just means they like to chat, meaning they're talkative. They like to talk. And if they're overly chatty, overly just means too much. They're too chatty. So an overly chatty seatmate, like is the person next to you talking too much? Well, headphones are a great way to keep them from, Headphones are a great way to keep from being the sounding board for your neighbor who can't take a hint. So, headphones are a great way to do something. This is a very common pattern. Something is a great way to something. Exercise is a great way to stay fit. Or, something like that. Headphones are a great way to keep from being a sounding board. So here, keep from means don't be. Keep from being means don't be or stop being. Keep from being the sounding board for your neighbor. A sounding board is like a board. Like a board is a piece of wood. And imagine there's a person and they're just talking to a piece of wood and their voice goes on the wood and then goes back. So that's kind of what a sounding board is. You talk and the sound bounces back. Now, why would they say that here? Well, if you are a sounding board, that means you're sitting there, the person's talking to you, but you're not talking back. And they just keep on talking. So you become a sounding board. Okay? So headphones are a great way to keep from being the sounding board for your neighbor. You don't get them talking to you forever. For your neighbor who can't take a hint. So if someone can't take a hint, that means they don't notice something. Let's say you were talking to me and I go, Uh-huh. 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 Oh, okay, okay. I'm trying to give you a hint. I don't want to say, stop talking to me. That's a little bit rude. But I'm trying to give you a hint. Maybe I say, oh, I'm going to watch a movie. Then they keep on talking. Oh, I love movies. But I'm going to watch a movie is a hint. It means I don't want to talk. But I'm not saying I don't want to talk. So if you say someone can't take the hint, that means they don't understand your little clue. You're trying to tell them no or go away, but you're trying to be polite. If you say they can't take the hint, that means they don't stop. For example, you're at a restaurant and the waiter keeps on talking to you. Oh, welcome to the restaurant. It's really nice to have you. Blah, 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 blah. And you say, I need to look at the menu. I need to look at the menu is a nice way to say, please leave us alone and come back later. That's the hint. But if the waiter keeps standing there and talking, blah, 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 you can say, wow, he can't take a hint. He doesn't understand that I'm asking him to go away. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is a common phrase, but it's a little bit tricky. You're trying to tell someone in a nice way, but they don't notice, they don't understand. Okay. So headphones are a great way to keep from being the sounding board for your neighbor who can't take a hint. Now, this is pretty complicated, but headphones are a good way to stop talking to the person who won't stop talking. That's what it means. It's my go-to move. So go-to is a good phrase to know. This means something you always do. It's really useful. It's something you do every time. Oh, it's my go-to. Or you might say, oh, that's my go-to restaurant. I go there all the time. Okay? So it's my go-to move. She does it all the time. After a long day of being a flight attendant, my noise-canceling headphones are my haven. Okay, so a couple things here. Noise-canceling headphones. That means there's sound around you, but the headphones make that noise go away. No more noise. Okay, so if you put these headphones on, it goes silent. My noise-canceling headphones are my haven. This is not heaven, this is haven. A haven is like a safe space, like a safe place to be. They protect her. The headphones keep her safe. Then I want peace on my commute home. So I want peace means I want to be left alone. I want quiet. Okay? So why is it a commute? A commute means traveling home from work. Now that's because this is a flight attendant. They don't always work when they're on an airplane. Maybe they work when they're flying to somewhere, and then on the way home, their commute home, they sit like a passenger. So I want peace on my commute home. They're flying like a passenger just to go home. And she uses headphones for peace. Okay? Any questions? Okay, next one. This is hopefully this is obvious to you. Hopefully you know already. Keep your socks on. So don't take your socks off on the plane. Keep your socks on. So if it's a long flight, by all means, relax and take off your shoes. By all means, of course, it's okay. Like, please go ahead, is what by all means. Please go ahead and do something. So if I make a pot of coffee, like a lot of coffee, I get coffee for myself, and you say, "Oh, Kyle, may I have a cup of coffee too?" I say, "Oh, by all means." That means, please, go ahead. Definitely do it. Okay? So if it's a long flight, by all means, relax and take off your shoes. But there is never a reason to take off your socks. So it's totally fine to relax and take off your shoes, but there is never a reason to take off your socks. So keep your socks on all the time. Okay? Foot smell is inescapable. Now, this is gross, sorry, but what does this mean? Foot smell is inescapable. Inescapable. Say it with me. Inescapable. Now, in the middle, there is escape. Escape means run away. So, escapable means you can escape something. You can run away. In means not. So, inescapable means you cannot escape. You can't get away. So, foot smell is inescapable. That means the smell of someone's dirty feet will be everywhere and you can't run away. There's nowhere you can go. Right? So, this is the reason why you should keep your socks on. Okay. So, that's one thing. Foot smell is inescapable. You'll ruin everyone's flight. Also, keep your feet to yourself. So, keep something to yourself is very common. That means don't give it to other people. This could be something you're thinking. Oh, I have this crazy idea. No, keep it to yourself. You don't need to tell us. Keep your feet to yourself. That means keep your feet close to you. Don't put them close to other people. So, it is not acceptable to rest your feet on the armrest of the person in front. I hope you already know that. On an airplane, you have your seat. This part is your armrest, where you rest your arm. Okay? So it is not acceptable to rest your feet on the armrest of the person in front. Now, you might go, "Oh, of course, you can't put your foot on an armrest. It's not a footrest." But some people do this. They think, "Oh, I'll put my foot like here and it's okay." Well, that's the ugliest foot ever. You get the idea. I'll put my foot here and that's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not acceptable. And I highly recommend putting your footwear back on to use the lavatory. Footwear is a general word for whatever goes on your foot. Things you wear on your foot. So why do they use the word footwear instead of shoes? Well, someone might have something different. Maybe they have boots. Maybe they have sandals. Maybe they have flip-flops. So footwear means everything on your foot. So I highly recommend putting your footwear back on to use the lavatory. So highly recommend. These two words often go together. So you could say, "I recommend something," but if you say, "I highly recommend," that's the same as "I strongly recommend." So I strongly recommend putting your shoes back on to use the lavatory. The lavatory, this is a formal way to say the bathroom, the restroom. This is a word that they use on an airplane, but we don't really use the word lavatory anywhere else. In your house, you would never say lavatory. It's mostly for an airplane, okay? Why do they highly recommend this? Because the bathroom is kind of dirty, and the floor of the bathroom is definitely dirty. and you don't want your socks to absorb something. Okay. Candice has a question. Excuse me, if someone still takes their socks off, will he get some punishment? No. There's no punishment for any of these things. These are not rules. These are not rules that you have to follow. This is etiquette. Etiquette means being polite, having good manners. So this is not a real rule. You can still do all these things. Like all of the bad things that we've talked about in here, you can do them. It's okay to do it. You can take your socks off. You're allowed to. You could take both armrests. You're allowed to. There's no rules telling you what to do. You can talk to your grandma on FaceTime when you're on the plane. But everything in this list, it's telling you what is good etiquette, what is polite to do. So you can take your socks off, but if you do that, you are being very rude. So polite versus rude. Rude means you don't care about other people and you're only thinking about yourself and you're being kind of a bad guy. So there's no punishment. The only punishment would be other people are not happy and other people think you're disgusting. That's it. It's not against the rules. It's just impolite. Does that make sense? So yeah, good question. These are not real rules. These are etiquette. These are ways to be good. And this is all advice. Okay? Okay, let's keep going. So keep your socks on. I hope you keep your socks on when you're on a plane. No one wants to smell your stinky feet. Okay? Next up is use the call button wisely. So the call button is this blue button here, and that will call the flight attendant. You can use it whenever you want, but please use it wisely. Wisely means in a smart way. So don't just hit it for anything, okay? If you need something, a coffee refill, assistance with a medical issue, or help with a disruptive passenger, please use it. So if you need something, please push the button. The flight attendants are happy to help. What are some things that you might need? You might need a coffee refill. Refill just means to fill your cup again. You got some coffee, you finish it, you want some more. That's a refill. Assistance with a medical issue. Assistance is another way to say help. Keep it simple. Assistance means help. Or help with a disruptive passenger. A passenger means a person riding the plane. Disruptive means they're causing problems. Disrupt, this word means to cause trouble. Disrupt. So disruptive passenger is a passenger causing problems. Maybe they're fighting, maybe they're angry, maybe they're drunk. So you have to be, if you have a problem, call for help. Yeah. So if you need something, please use it. Please use the call button. It is preferable to poking or tapping the flight attendant, which is not okay. So pushing the call button is preferable to. Preferable to means we like it better. It's better than. Everyone will be more happy if you do this instead of what? Instead of poking. Poking means boop, boop, boop. To use the tip of your finger to poke someone. 戳他, to poke someone. Don't do that. It's not okay. Another thing is tapping the flight attendant. Tap is like you lightly, gently touch their shoulder maybe. to tap them. So don't poke them or poke their butt or don't tap their shoulder. Don't touch other people that you don't know. That's the easy way to remember, right? Don't touch people you don't know. So pushing the call button is preferable to poking or tapping the flight attendant, which is not okay. Yeah, it's not okay to touch people you don't know. Before you press it though, before you press the call button, make sure we aren't already in the aisle with a beverage cart or a trash bag. So if you push the button, make sure the flight attendants aren't in the aisle. Because if they're here, this is the aisle where the space between the seats where you can walk is called the aisle. If they're in the aisle, then they're already going to meet you in a few minutes. So before you press it, make sure we aren't already in the aisle with a beverage cart or a trash bag. So the flight attendant might be in the aisle with a beverage cart. Beverage means drinks. And cart is similar, just this thing, a thing you push. So make sure they aren't already in the aisle. That means we're already coming. So you can just wait until they get to your seat. If you are having a true emergency, please hit it several times so we know it's important. Okay, this is good advice. This is something I didn't really think about. I personally never use the call button because I think, oh, I won't bother them. I'll wait till they walk by. But actually, using the call button is probably helpful because they know you want something or they'll come to you when they're not busy, right? You push a button and say, oh, may I have some more water? If you're having a true emergency, like someone's getting sick or there's a problem, please hit it several times. Ding, ding, ding. So we know it's important. That's good advice. So for me, I think if I push the button, they'll come. But if you push it one time, ding, maybe they're busy. Oh, I'm helping someone else. I'll go in 2 minutes. But if it's an emergency, you want to go ding, 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 show that it's a big problem. Okay? But a true emergency, that doesn't mean I really want more tea or I want another glass of wine. No, that's not an emergency. A true emergency means someone's sick or someone needs help, right? Okay, let's keep going. Don't discipline other people's kids. So to discipline a kid means to tell them to be good. Stop being bad. Don't be crazy. Sit down. Listen to me. Be good. That's disciplining a kid. But don't discipline other people's kids. So it's tempting to do this sometimes. If a parent is just sitting there and their kid is being crazy, sometimes you want to tell the kid, hey kid, sit down. But you shouldn't do that, right? So don't discipline other people's kids. Nothing makes a flight more miserable than the back of your seat becoming a punching bag. Miserable means terrible or awful or depressing. A punching bag means this kind of thing. A bag that you punch. Usually it's for practicing and exercising. But if the back of your seat becomes a punching bag, that means a kid is hitting it or kicking it and your seat is going gong, 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 gong. And it's miserable. It feels terrible, right? Okay. However, if a child behind you is being disruptive, address the parents. There's that word disruptive again. Causing trouble, causing problems. So if a child behind you is being disruptive, address the parents. That means talk to the parents. Don't talk to the kid. Just say, excuse me, your child has been kicking my chair. Could you try to control him? Or no, don't say that. Could you ask him to be careful or something like that. And so you don't have the right to yell at someone else's child, of course. A nice way to approach this is to ask the parents calmly and with a smile. Don't be angry. Be like, oh, excuse me. It seems like your kid bumped my chair. Could you ask him to be careful? Something like that. So ask the parents calmly and with a smile if they realize their child is kicking your seat. So hopefully they'll notice. Then say it's bothersome. Like, I'm sorry to bother you. That's what I would say. Sorry to bother you. But your child is kicking my seat. I'm sorry to bother you. Is there any way you can make the child stop? Could you ask your son to stop hitting my seat? Or something like that. This way, you are not accusing in your tone. So you don't want to sound angry. Don't want to say like your child is annoying. Don't say that. And you're asking instead of being bossy. Bossy means you're telling people what to do. You're acting like you're important. You don't want to do that, because if you talk about other people's kids, people will be like, are you being mean to my kid? So you have to be very careful. Be nice. Make sure you're asking instead of being bossy. Okay? Next. Deal with your seating issues before you get on the plane. Seating means where people sit on the plane. Issues means problems. So deal with seating issues before you get on the plane. Figure out your seats. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I heard a strange sound. 1 second. Okay, let's keep on going. So what were we saying? Deal with seating issues before you get on the plane. If your family is split up on the flight, the chaotic rush of boarding is not when flight attendants can solve it for you. So if your family is split up on the flight, split up means separated. So if Johnny is sitting on the left, Kelly is sitting on the right, they're split up. And you can't figure that out when you get on the plane. Figure it out before. The chaotic rush of boarding. So boarding is when people get on the plane, and it's a chaotic rush. A rush means something fast. Shoo, shoo, shoo. And it's chaotic. Chaotic means it's crazy or disorganized. More like disorganized. How do you spell? Disorganized. Yeah. It's chaotic. Everyone's going everywhere. And so in that chaotic rush of boarding, that's not when flight attendants can solve it for you. They can't solve your seating problems. You need to figure it out before. Okay. The gate agents have access to the seating chart and family reservations. So the people at the gate, meaning the entrance to the plane. The gate agents, the people at the door, have access to, meaning they can see, the seating chart and family reservations. So they can see where you and your family are going to sit. So please ask them first if it is possible to change your seats. So if you want to change your seats, ask the people at the gate, the door to the plane. Don't wait until you're on the plane, because that'll be too crazy. You can't move around like that on the plane. It's too much work. Some airlines even have a policy being like a rule, that families with children under 13 must sit together. So some airlines, they say, if you have a kid who's 11, they have to sit with mom or dad. So the gate agent is the best place. Again, that's the person at the door who's at that computer. That person is the best to ask to help you. Or even better, call the airline before coming to the airport. So if you look at your tickets and you see they're in different parts of the plane, call the airline a few days before and try to get it figured out before you get there. If you wait till the end, it'll be a mess. Okay, 2 more. We're almost there. This one. This is again, you don't have to be super polite all the time. Like, you should be polite, but you don't need to do crazy things for people. You don't have to switch seats if someone asks you. You can be nice, but you don't have to, right? So, I'm going to be unpopular here. So, this flight attendant is saying that she's going to say something unpopular, which means people aren't going to like hearing this. If she says this, other people might disagree. I'm going to be unpopular here. No, you do not have to switch with someone who asks you. So a lot of people think like, oh, someone said, can we switch seats? And then you kind of have to, oh yeah, I feel guilty. Okay. No, you can say no. It's okay. You can say, oh, sorry, no. If you have paid extra for your seat, or even if it is just an inconvenience, you can kindly say no. So if you paid extra, definitely you can say no. Oh, sorry, I paid for the seat. If it's an inconvenience means something that's not convenient. This is kind of like convenient, right? It's not easy. It's kind of annoying to do. An inconvenience is something that's difficult. You can kindly say no. So say it in a nice way. Oh, I'm really sorry, but I paid for the seat. Or I'm sorry, but this seat is blah, blah. I need this seat because blah, 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 blah. Okay? Make a reason. But be kind about it. Be nice. If it is advantageous, so if switching seats is advantageous, you might know advantage. Advantage means a good thing. So advantageous means it's good for you. If switching seats is advantageous, meaning it can help you, like trading a middle seat for a window seat, or you are happy to help, please go ahead and swap. So yeah, you don't need to say yes to switch seats. You can say no, but if it's good for you, go ahead and say, sure, yeah, that's great. Please go ahead and swap. We also said, what did we say? What was that phrase? By all means. By all means, go ahead and swap. So it means the same thing. Go for it. So if it's bad, though, you don't need to say, okay, I'll switch. Just say, oh, sorry, it doesn't work. Last one. This is obvious, but surprisingly, some people don't do this. Flush. Please. No, they have periods here. Flush. Period. Please. Period. Now, this is not like great grammar. Better grammar would be please flush. But this makes it stronger. Flush. Kind of like you have to flush. And please, meaning I'm begging you. So flush, please. So flush the toilet, meaning whoosh, the water goes down. Some people don't do it. Ugh. Okay, this should be common sense. We talked about common sense last week. Something everyone should know. This should be common sense, but somehow it isn't. Some people don't know that you should flush. I deal with this all day, every day. So the flight attendant has to deal with this. To deal with something means like handle it or figure it out. I have to handle toilets that weren't flushed all day, every day. Pretty terrible. I do not want to flush your deposit. Now, they're trying to use nice words to talk about gross things. So deposit, usually this is for a bank. Like you put money into a bank. So what do you deposit in a toilet? I think you know. What do you put in there? So deposit is something you put in. So the flight attendant, I do not want to flush your deposit, of course. And neither does the passenger after you. So the next person to use the toilet doesn't want to flush what you left there. So, if you can't find the button, please look for it. So, I couldn't find the button, so I just left. Oh, come on. Please look for it. Like, just spend more time. I guarantee it's there. So guarantee means like, I swear, for sure. So the button is somewhere there. I guarantee it's there on every plane. So again, more periods just to make it stronger. Like, flush, please. I guarantee the button is there on every plane. Like, definitely do it. Okay? So this one is common sense, but amazingly, some people don't do this all the time. Just like sometimes you see people and they don't use soap when they wash their hands. They just go whoosh with water. Should be common sense, but somehow some people don't use soap when they wash their hands. So yeah, just do it. Do the right thing. Okay? So that's it for today. Let's stop here. We finished our list of flight attendants' etiquette rules. Again, these are not things you have to do, but it's the right thing to do. It's common courtesy. It's the polite thing. It will take care of the people around you and make everyone's life easier. Flying on a plane is already difficult. We want to make it happy and smooth and easy for everyone. And if we smell your feet on the plane, you're making it harder for everyone, right? So, okay. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you learned a lot. There's a lot of vocabulary and some tricky grammar, but I think there's a lot of interesting and fun, well, maybe not fun, interesting phrases and words to learn in this lesson or in this article. And hopefully you knew most of these things, but some of these are nice reminders to tell us, oh yeah, maybe I should do this or I shouldn't do that, just to make sure people around me are comfortable and happy, right? Because like I said, flying is difficult. It's hard on you. It's hard on other people. So we want to take care of each other. Okay? So let's stop here for today. And next time we'll talk about something else. So I hope you had a good time and I'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.